Chidori Boys High School is a low-tier school where most of the students are considered slow-witted and hopeless. No exaggeration, it's basically the bottom rung of society, and it's also the school where our main character, Rintaro, attends. Right next to Chidori High is Kikyo, a prestigious girls' school. The girls there look down on the boys from Chidori High. They even blocked their view of Chidori with a curtain. Just a few days ago, Rintaro believed the world beyond that curtain was a place he'd never belong. Right now, Rintaro's friends are being confronted by some guys from another school. Specifically, they asked Sohei to send a message to Rintaro because Rintaro had a run-in with their underlings. Just then, Rintaro appeared behind the two guys with a fierce look that made them bolt like scared kids. Rintaro told his friends not to cause trouble for others, but it's actually them who got caught up in his mess. The night before, there was a fight near his house, and seeing his buddy dumped by his girlfriend, Rintaro felt sorry for him and wanted to comfort him. But his serious face accidentally scared everyone stiff. On the way to school, they ran into some Kikyo girls who openly looked down on them. Sohei kindly picked up a scarf a friend dropped, but they refused to take it, disgusted by Sohei's dirty hands. But the group didn't mind, since it's normal for them to be hated. Rintaro had never even seen the classroom on the other side of the wall. Sohei invited Rintaro to karaoke after school, but he politely declined because he was busy helping his mom with the shop that evening. After school, Rintaro was put in charge of watching the store. There was only one customer left, so no worries about Rintaro's scary face scaring people away. Let's see what this last customer looks like. But Rintaro accidentally startled the person. The petite girl made Rintaro think she was a middle schooler. Before Rintaro could even start a conversation, Karuko hurriedly left the store, making him blame himself for scaring her. Rintaro's mom told him that the girl was Karuko, who usually comes by the store once or twice a month, so she remembered her face. She also told Rintaro not to blame himself, because Karuko isn't that kind of person. Even if she's upset, she'd be lured back by some delicious sweets. The next day, Rintaro was still beating himself up, and he couldn't find Karuko's middle school to apologize. Just then, his close friends came by to invite him out, but he declined, making them think he was trying to distance himself. That afternoon, Karuko suddenly showed up at the store, surprising both Rintaro and his mom. Rintaro was about to apologize when Karuko offered to treat him to something, which made him that girl is little Karuko, who usually comes to the shop once or twice a month, so mom remembers her face. Your mom also hopes you stop blaming yourself, because Karuko isn't that kind of person. Even if she's upset, mom would just lure her back with some delicious pastries. The next day, Rintaro still kept blaming himself, and he couldn't find his sister's middle school to apologize to her. At that moment, the group of best friends came to invite Rintaro out, but he refused, making them feel like he was trying to keep his distance from everyone. That afternoon, Karuko suddenly showed up at the shop, looking for Rintaro, surprising both him and his mom greatly. Rintaro was about to apologize when Karuko offered to treat him to something, making him unable to believe someone was using his family's pastries to treat him. Karuko apologized to Rintaro for yesterday, for running off suddenly, and hoped he'd accept the pastry. It's her way of saying sorry. Saw you craving it. Seeing that cake, Rintaro decided to give that cake to her. Karu also surely knew you'd be shocked to see a kid eat that much, especially since the shop was empty that day. No customers, so she couldn't wait until she got home. She wanted to get to know Rintaro. You just don't get why she's interested in someone like you. Someone like you. Actually, Karuko knew Rintaro for a long time. She even noticed that sometimes he would help his family run the store. Yesterday was the first time a guy looked at Karuko that long, making her heart flutter, which is why she ran away. After hearing Karuko's story, Rintaro was totally stunned. Usually girls are supposed to be scared of your face. You should be intimidating, yet somehow you made her heart skip a beat. From before until now, Rintaro only needs to shoot a glance at someone for them to be scared. That should be the case, but for Karuko, her heart pounds wildly whenever Rintaro catches her eating cake, leaving him unable to figure out what she's thinking. It was late, so Rintaro wanted to walk Karuko home, but she politely declined because her house was quite close anyway. She revealed she's never been scared of Rintaro, leaving him genuinely surprised. Until now, Rintaro was always avoided by friends because they feared his scary face. He heard a lot of insults, but today he met someone who wasn't afraid of how he looks. Right then his mom. Vintaro's mom found the bag of pastries that Karuko bought thrown out on the street, proving she was in trouble. At this time, Karuko was being chased by those two brats from before when Rintaro had scared off earlier with his flirting. After a few minutes of searching, Rintaro found Karuko, but he accidentally overheard those two talking trash about him. There, Rintaro also realized they were ruining his reputation. They said he was a bad student, which was true, so he just stood there and took it. Their words terrified Karuko deeply. But it's not Rintaro who's scary. It's the fear caused by baseless rumors about him. She thinks neither of them ever talk to Rintaro, so they'll never see how amazing he really is. If not, then at least please don't judge him. It's really painful, you know. At first, those two planned to use Karuko to provoke Rintaro, but she was so annoying that they had to teach her a lesson. Just as they were about to throw a punch at Rintaro, appeared just in time to shield her. You pissed me off, and now you're gonna pay. Because he tried to protect Karuko, his head. Rintaro accidentally bumped into the door behind, causing her to worry a lot. Rintaro suddenly apologized to Karuko because he couldn't stop it. Those guys sooner. This injury can be seen as it was a punishment meant for him. Afterwards, Rintaro apologized once more for dragging her into unnecessary trouble, for getting her caught up in something she shouldn't have. Although Karuko thought it wasn't Vintaro's fault, for him, it still was. Rintaro felt Karuko was a kind girl, but he had scared her. This made Karuko unable to understand why everyone was so afraid of Rintaro. The kid thought Rintaro had a kind heart and didn't forget to thank him for saving her. Rintaro was used to criticism about himself, the harsh criticism about himself. He didn't expect any thanks or praise, yet now he finds himself wanting more. After that, Rintaro escorted Karuko to the station before leaving. She confessed that when she returned to the bakery and after a long time, and for Karuko it was also the first time, next time she wanted them to eat together. It had been a long time since Rintaro felt something he had long given up on. For Karuko, it was also the first time. The very first time. She felt a strange emotion today. Rintaro came to school earlier than usual because after Karuko's compliment last night, he just couldn't sleep at all. At that moment, he accidentally looked toward Kikyo School, where the classrooms were, hidden behind curtains. Suddenly, the curtain moved, and the first person Rintaro saw behind it was Karuko. This shocked the young man, shocked like a startled fish. He wondered why she was here, but he get an answer right away, Karuko. Karuko isn't in middle school. She's a student at Kikyo Academy, a school that holds strong prejudice against students from Chidori School, where Rintaro studies. Episode 2, Rintaro finally meets someone special, someone who isn't scared of his appearance. But Karuko is a student of that girl's school, and today, the students from that school looked at Sohei with disdain as usual, making the young man extremely pissed off. Saku also got dirty looks from those girls, and he really hated the girls from Kikyo School because they always looked down on the students from Chidori. By the way, Saku asked about the wound on Vintaro's forehead, but right now his mind was only on Karuko, so he accidentally ignored his friend's question. This was also the first time they saw Rintaro closing the curtains, shutting the window, so Sohei thought he was annoyed when looking over at Kikyo School, making Rintaro yell, "That's not it!" He quickly explained it was just because it was too sunny, but there was no way Saku believed him. Earlier, Rintaro noticed Karuko's expression, and Karuko was shocked too. He was afraid that maybe those kids would never come back to the shop again. For Rintaro, maybe this wouldn't be so bad, because from the start, the two schools, Chidori and Kikyo, shouldn't be involved with each other. Like the story between him and Karuko. After class, so he invited him to hang out. Today he wasn't busy helping his mom, so he agreed. Just as they stepped out of the classroom, the group noticed something going on by the school gate, with students gathered around. When they asked, they found out a girl from Kikyo was standing, waiting for someone from Chidori, which made Rintaro very, very surprised because it was Karuko herself. Shocked because it was Karuko. Sohei jumped out to scare Karuko. Karuko made Rintaro want to smack that idiot a few times. Right after saying that, Rintaro lunged forward and grabbed Sohei by the collar, and also didn't forget to apologize to Karuko for my friend's foolish actions. This made Sohei incredibly jealous of the lucky guy who was being waited on by that girl. Oh, that lucky guy is your best friend. And right now, he's standing right next to you. At that moment, 2 other female students from the school, from Kikyo School, came over to escort Karuko back, because they thought hanging around Kikyo would make them catch their stupidity. Sohei asked those 2 to apologize for touching him. But those rude girls didn't even say a word. But those rude kids didn't even bother to say a word, which was embarrassing, swearing he'd never forget this debt. Now Rintaro had successfully. Rintaro smiled happily, making his friends disgusted by that grin. Hey, shut up for us, will ya? You look so happy that Karuko came to see you, but maybe it's better if you 2 just stay out of each other's way. After that, the group went to karaoke together, and while singing, Saku noticed Rintaro wasn't focused at all. So Saku asked Rintaro what was going on with him lately. Saku wanted Rintaro to open up, especially to the group, especially about the wound on his forehead. So Saku asked Rintaro what's been going on lately. Saku wanted Rintaro to open up, especially to the whole group, especially about that injury on his forehead. As for Rintaro, he wasn't sure if he should tell his friends about Karuko, since they really hated the girls from Kikyo. He understood why they felt that way, so he just pretended nothing was bothering him. Later, Rintaro apologized to Saku and the others because they were worried about him. So Vintaro's friends didn't ask him any more questions. The whole group had a singing session, so lively that Vintaro's voice got hoarse. After getting home, Rintaro was extremely surprised because Karuko had waited for him here all that time. Karuko apologized to Rintaro for underestimating the feud between Chidori and Kikyo schools. Chidori and Kikyo schools, and Vintaro's mom scolded her son for making a girl wait so late. Vintaro's mom invited Karuko to stay and eat the leftover cake. At first she wanted to refuse, but her stomach had been waiting so long it went on strike. So Rintaro invited Karuko to stay and eat cake with him. Look at the student council president's expression, so cute, right? Here, Karuko also asked about Sohei's chin, but Rintaro told her not to worry, he's as tough as a wild boar. Yes, Rintaro asked Karuko why she was hanging out by Chidori School, and she said she wanted to see him, making the poor guy overjoyed. He accidentally said he was happy to see Karuko again, then quickly apologized, hoping she'd forget those embarrassing words. But Karuko didn't want to forget making both of them embarrassed, was shy, like a gecko, so she switched to another topic to ease the awkwardness. The reason is Rintaro came home late because he didn't think Karuko to come here again after finding out he was a student at Chidori, which confused him a lot. Rintaro explained that it was because of Chidori. Chidori and Kikyo, since Karuko studies at Chidori and he also studies there, he thought she would never come here to see him again. People like me won't bring anything good. But Karuko didn't care about that. When she found out Rintaro was a Chidori student, she was really happy, which surprised him. It was late, so Karuko excused herself despite Rintaro trying to hold her back. And before leaving, Karuko confirmed it was true that maybe from now on, she would get to know Rintaro better, but after seeing that happy face, Rintaro accidentally noticed Karuko's sad expression. Karuko made him feel really guilty. Karuko is usually someone who devours sweets like it's her life. But this time, she hadn't even finished her cake, which made Rintaro feel like he'd unintentionally hurt her. Just then, Vintaro's mom dropped by and saw her son's face, looking like skin stretched over bones, which worried her. Later, Rintaro also told his mom about what just happened, so his mom gave him a painful flick on the head. First, Vintaro's mom hoped that Rintaro would chase after Karuko because for her to be out alone at night. But Rintaro didn't understand why Karuko said she was happy to meet him. He really didn't understand how to explain that to her stubborn eldest son. Vintaro's mother didn't know what to say. Then she explained that Rintaro, was unknowingly repeating what others had done to him. Didn't Rintaro hate the noisy crowds gossiping about him based on his looks? Looks tough on the outside, right? Yet now he goes around all day saying Kikyo this, Kikyo that. Besides, Vintaro's mom hoped he would pay attention to how Karuko behaves, knowing he's a student from Chidori. This made Rintaro fall into deep thought. He had assumed Karuko shouldn't be involved with him because nothing good would come of it. Since childhood, Rin was always treated differently by friends because of his rough, gangster-like face. But then he himself discriminated against Karuko when she went to Kikyo's school. Realizing the problem Rintaro punched himself in the face as a form of self-punishment. He felt awful for treating Karuko the same way others treated him, and he thanked his mom for taking the time to help him reflect. The next morning, Rintaro arrived at school early to wait for Karuko at the school gate, surprising her a lot. There, Rintaro apologized to Karuko for unintentionally hurting her the day before. Karuko didn't understand why Rintaro apologized. Then, he revealed that he saw the sad look on Karuko's face when she left the shop. This made Karuko so embarrassed she wanted to disappear. She had been sad yesterday, but it was all her fault because she suddenly left and caused everything to. Things got worse. Karuko felt Rintaro was very kind and also apologized to her. Karuko was always straightforward with Rintaro, so he felt he had to do the same when he heard the guys mocking the girls from Kikyo, but with Rintaro it didn't mean much. But when he heard Karuko being talked about behind her back, he felt really uncomfortable. Even though he felt uneasy, Rintaro realized it was better if Karuko stayed out of it. So Rintaro asked to take back what he said yesterday. Once again, he apologized to Karuko for focusing only on the rivalry between the two schools and not on her. Saying that was basically confessing, right, Grandpa? Right. Rintaro's sincere words made a smile return to Karuko's lips. Then she introduced herself as Karuko, and he was Rintaro. He was Rintaro. Whether Chidori or Kikyo, none of that mattered. What mattered was Rintaro. Because of that, Karuko really wanted to get to know Rintaro better. After getting to school, Rintaro kept teasing Karuko for pulling the curtains yesterday. He teased her for pulling the curtains yesterday. Since it was early morning, they also took the chance to exchange glances through the windows. The world Rintaro thought he'd never belonged to suddenly felt closer. Closer now, he felt like he belonged. Thanks a bit to Karuko. Episode 3. The scorching hot summer days have arrived, making Rintaro and Sohei very excited because they would get to join the sports festival, which was their chance to bring the championship home for their class. But sadly, the homeroom teacher banned these two from joining because they were as bad at studying as bulls. So they'd probably have to retake the midterms. To join the sports festival, they had to pass the upcoming midterm exam, or else retake it. To encourage these two troublemakers, the homeroom teacher promised to treat them to ice cream if they won the championship for the class. Earlier, Sohei was all talk, but now he was crying his eyes out. He couldn't even focus on studying, barely managing 10 minutes, let alone pass the midterms. Sohei begged Saku to tutor both of them. But last year, Saku taught them like his life depended on it, and they still failed. Aorita, who they liked, wasn't as good as Saku, so he couldn't help Rintaro study either. At this rate, both would fail again, then lose at the sports festival. But Saku wouldn't just let them lose at the festival, nor let these two brainless guys waste his hard work. Lost at the sports meet, but Saku didn't have to let those two idiots still stuck in their mom's wombs suffer so much. Today, the family store has a sale, so Rintaro's mom wants him to invite Karuko over. It's been a while since she saw her future daughter-in-law. Rintaro somewhat sympathized with Karuko. Even if she was a rich girl, it didn't mean she wasted money recklessly. When he messaged Karuko, the chat blew up like New Year's fireworks. But after a whole day of waiting, Rintaro finally got a reply, saying she was very busy this month, so she couldn't visit his family shop, which left him feeling a bit disappointed. After class, Sohei invited Rintaro to the city library. Feeling disappointed. After class, Sohei invited Rintaro to the city library, since the school library doesn't have AC. But Rintaro clearly knew Sohei just wanted to drag him there to avoid Saku after they just argued. However, Sohei forgot one thing: without Saku, no one could stand it. Both their genius brains together. So Rintaro advised his friend to go apologize. Saku has to do it since no one else will step up. We're both dumbasses when it comes to studying. You want everyone to fully enjoy the feast together. Cream. Master Bao is stubborn but pretty solid. Saku is also really looking forward to the sports festival, which makes Sohei. It's unbelievable that my friend actually has feelings like this. At a time like this, just like Rintaro, Sohei really wants to join the festival with you. So he decides to go to the school library and apologize to Rintaro. Then he drags both of them here. After Sohei left, Rintaro accidentally saw two middle school girls looking for seats in the library. So he stood up to save the seats from going to waste. While leaving the library, Rintaro overheard the name Karuko, so he checked to see if it was the girl he knew. Turns out it really was her. Last month, Karuko told him she'd be really busy this month, but it turned out she had to prepare for exams as well. Just like you hear, Rintaro was pretty happy to see another side of Karuko, and he also learned that she has to study hard to keep her top spot in class. Karuko said that was just her personal goal. Even though she's studying at a prestigious school, Karuko is still the best among them. While Karuko was diligently studying for the exam, Rintaro was standing around just snooping, and when he realized that, he immediately dragged himself to study. When Karuko is the top student at school, on the other hand, he's the dumbest of the dumb. Last year, Saku busted his back trying to help Rintaro understand, but Rintaro still failed, making him feel really discouraged and wanting to give up. But when he closed his eyes, he saw Sohei's determination, and when he opened them right in front of him was Karuko, who startled him like a scared little weasel. Earlier, Karuko saw a tall guy like Rintaro, and she was hungry too, so she went out to buy food. Karuko regretted not being able to stop by her family's store during the sale because she was busy preparing for exams and also had to save the extra money she earned from her part-time job. Buying food was eating up too much of it. This surprised Rintaro quite a bit, because a rich girl like Karuko had to work part-time too, but she revealed that her family isn't as wealthy as he thought, and she got into Kikyo thanks to a scholarship. To keep that scholarship, Karuko had to work really hard, so she grabbed the top spot in class as well. With exams coming up, Karuko barely has time to sleep. She often pinches herself to stay awake during class. Karuko believes she has to work hard because she comes from an ordinary family, but she's a student at the prestigious Kikyo school. When her father allowed her to study at Kikyo, Karuko said, "I'll do everything so you won't be disappointed." That's how Karuko got into Kikyo, and she's very proud of it, which made Rintaro admire her even more. But she's a student of Kikyo Academy, prestigious. And when her father allowed her to study at Kikyo, Karuko said, "I'll do everything so you won't be disappointed." That's how Karuko got accepted into Kikyo, and she's very proud of it, which makes Rintaro admire her even more as he learns more about Karuko. Rintaro increasingly realizes how wrong his previous thoughts about Karuko were. At this point, Rintaro suddenly asked Karuko for a favor. Karuko teaching me would be terrible if, like Rintaro failing the midterms again. He doesn't want to fail this time. He doesn't want to. Rintaro is used to giving up, but only because Karuko helped him study when they were kids and had free time. Karuko. She agreed to Vintaro's request and promised to help him pass whenever she's free. Anytime she's free, she'll help him pass the exams. While Karuko was talking to Rintaro, a platinum blonde girl named Subaru suddenly appeared and really wanted to know who Rintaro was. Vintaro's first impression of Subaru was her platinum blonde hair like a foreigner's, looking incredibly cool. But when Subaru found out Rintaro was a student at Chidori, she immediately told him to stay away from Karuko because she didn't want her to hang out with Chidori students. Subaru didn't want Karuko involved with those students, socializing with students from Chidori. Karuko hadn't even explained to Subaru when Vintaro's gang arrived at the library, making him feel things were about to get worse. No need to say everyone knows how much Sohei and Saku hate the girls from Kikyo, and Subaru didn't want anything to do with those savage guys from Chidori. Chidori really annoyed Sohei. Looking at Karuko's face, Sohei felt that girl looked familiar. But before he could do anything, Rintaro and Subaru stopped him. After calming down, Rintaro realized his body had acted on instinct. Then, Subaru led Karuko away and didn't forget to mock the Chidori students, which made Saku very irritated. Saku fired back. Again, what Subaru said earlier with harsh words, targeting Subaru and the students of Kikyo School. Karuko was about to stand up for Subaru, but Rintaro stopped Saku's mouth from going too far. Saku reminded everyone that Karuko was the one waiting for someone at the Chidori school gate earlier. Rintaro explained that he just happened to meet Karuko in the library and wanted to apologize because he scared her last time. He was the one who started the conversation, so the two of them ended up together, not because of them. Although Sohan, it was Sohei who scared Karuko earlier, so Sohei stepped up to apologize to Karuko. Because of what happened earlier, Subaru was very surprised, and Karuko bowed to apologize, realizing she was the cause of this whole incident. That shocked the guys from Chidori even more, yet Subaru still wanted to frown. Subaru stopped immediately, afraid everyone would see the Kikyo students. bowing before the Chidori crowd. But Karuko also wanted Subaru to apologize, which made her angry. Subaru walked away, leaving everyone confused. Saku still hadn't apologized, so Sohei was annoyed. The reason he spoke harshly to Subaru was just because he didn't want them to be made a joke by her. Thanks to this small fight, the bond between Saku and Sohei grew stronger. As for Rintaro, he was wondering why Subaru's gaze was fixed on him before she left. Meanwhile, Subaru was still pissed off at those Chidori guys after witnessing their sincerity. Sohei and Rintaro's minds were troubled. They were shaken. So Subaru asked what kind of person Rintaro was since he had accidentally seen Karuko smiling while talking to him and with him. And Karuko replied that Taro was a kind person, which made Subaru rethink all the nasty rumors about the students from Chidori. They weren't true after all. Even though Saku tutored him, Rintaro still couldn't manage it just then. But Rintaro still couldn't do it just then. Rintaro was unexpectedly invited by Karuko to talk privately, which caught him off guard. Karuko's voice was higher than usual today, and she had changed. Karuko apologized to Rintaro for making him deceive his friend and also thanked Rintaro for standing up to protect her. It looked really badass, which made Rintaro because when he stood up to protect her, he looked really cool, which made Rintaro feel really warm inside since it had been a while since someone called him badass. Well, they only knew each other from the bakery, so it was weird for them to chat so casually. Still, though Rintaro was just someone Karuko knew from the bakery, after hearing those words, he felt distant, making him want to learn more about Karuko. After a while talking, they decided to meet up this Saturday for a study group. Before ending the conversation, Rintaro wanted their next meeting to be just like friends talking, and Karuko agreed. After they finished talking, the young man hid his face in embarrassment. He really wanted to know how Karuko felt now, but who knows? Karuko probably felt the same as Rintaro. Next time they meet, he wants them to talk like friends, and Karuko agreed with that. After saying that the young man hid his face in embarrassment, he also really wanted to know Karuko's feelings. He couldn't count how many times he reread the messages with Karuko because all he could see in his head was her. Rintaro went out wearing plain clothes and with his usual scary face. But inside he was excited, though this was the place he saw every day. It felt like he was heading to a whole new world. Rintaro arrived at the meeting spot early, but Karuko was even earlier than him. This time they talked like close friends, instead of using formal language, which made Karuko a little flustered. But inside he felt excited, even though this was the place Rintaro saw every day. It felt like he was on the way to a whole new world. Whenever Karuko sat down to eat, she looked incredibly happy. After Karuko filled her stomach, they started the study group. Karuko would teach Rintaro math first, so she wanted him to feel free to ask questions, and when Rintaro opened his notebook, Karuko unconsciously leaned in closer, and when they realized it, both were super embarrassed. Rintaro, a place to study, and most importantly, the food here is really delicious. But Karuko forgot that she's a girl who loves to eat. Whenever Karuko sits down to eat, she looks incredibly happy. After Karuko filled her stomach, the two started their group study. Karuko would teach Rintaro math first, so she wanted Rintaro to feel free to ask questions, and when Rintaro opened his notebook, Karuko's face unconsciously leaned closer, and when they realized it, both looked extremely embarrassed. Rintaro told himself to focus on studying, but after getting his daily dose of girl vitamins, how could he concentrate? After a while, Karuko suddenly asked Rintaro, "Can I ask you something? Why don't you not want to fail this exam so badly?" Because after the exam, there's the sports festival, and Rintaro wants to join his friends instead of studying for a retake. This made Karuko really happy because Rintaro cares about his friends, and it also means Rintaro loves them a lot, which almost made him choke on his drink. Because Karuko looked so genuinely happy, Karuko also really loves her friends. Everyone Karuko knows is a good person, especially Subaru, since they've known each other since childhood. Back then, Subaru had a friend group with some boys, so since then she's hated guys. And the fact that Rintaro doesn't think badly of her makes Karuko really happy. Then the two of them dove back into studying. Karuko's words gave Rintaro a strange feeling, a kind of happiness he'd been hoping for all along. It's like only with Karuko could Rintaro sit at the desk for so long. On the way out, she even wrote a notebook with important points crucial stuff that might be on the exam, along with solutions tailored just for Rintaro. It surprised him a lot, even though she was busier studying than anyone else. Karuko hoped Rintaro could join the sports festival with their friends and hoped he'd share all the fun stories from the event. Karuko had put a lot of effort into tutoring Rintaro, so he was determined to pass the exam no matter what. After Karuko left, Rintaro planned to open his notebook and study on the train, but Subaru suddenly appeared and invited him to talk privately. He agreed, but Subaru stayed completely silent, even after they'd been in the cafe for a while. Then she asked Rintaro if he was Karuko's boyfriend, which shocked him a lot. Rintaro's expression made Subaru feel he was very different from the last time she saw him. Then Subaru introduced herself to Rintaro, which made him imagine the scene where Rintaro waited for her at the school gate. If she'd been there, then it would have been hopeless. If she'd been there, it would have been game over. Back to the main point, Rintaro said he was not Karuko's boyfriend, but he also didn't know what he was to Karuko anymore. However, Subaru knew they had just recently met, and she'd be happy if Rintaro stopped seeing Karuko. Rintaro knew exactly what she wanted, because he was a student at Chidori High, but that was only part of it. From their previous encounter, Subaru sensed Rintaro was probably a good person. Back then, she used a lot of harsh words aimed at his friends, so she apologized for that. Deep down, Subaru really hates guys and Chidori, so seeing Karuko hanging out with Rintaro made her very worried, because the teachers at Kikyo even hate Chidori more than the students do, and she couldn't imagine what would happen if they got caught by those guys at the wrong time. If the two were caught by them at the right moment. Rintaro asked why Subaru cared so much about Karuko then. A boy accidentally tripped in front of Subaru and was helped up. The kid noticed Subaru's hair color, and those were exactly the kind words Karuko used to say to Subaru when they were kids. Back then, Subaru was always bullied by the boys because his hair was so different. The only one who protected Subaru at that time was Karuko. Subaru will never forget that moment because Karuko was his hero. At that moment, Subaru would never forget it since Karuko was his hero. Rintaro also learned about this from Karuko's story, but Subaru thinks he was just someone who listened in, so he believes he knows nothing about Karuko. Subaru grew up alongside Karuko, so he knows how hard she had to work to learn Kikyo. That's why Subaru is determined not to let anyone ruin everything Karuko has worked for. Subaru also knows very well that what he's doing is wrong and might make Karuko hate him. But even if she hates him, as long as Karuko can be happy, Subaru is willing to accept it. So once again, he begged Rintaro never to meet Karuko again, for the sake of her peaceful life. This made Rintaro reflect on everything they had been through together with Karuko. Although they hadn't known each other long, they already shared many memories. So Rintaro sincerely apologized to Subaru because he couldn't stay away from Karuko, because a few hours ago, Subaru had accidentally seen them happily talking together. After Rintaro left, Subaru couldn't even understand what he was doing anymore. On the train, Rintaro planned to study from Karuko's notebook, but after thinking about Subaru's words earlier, he lost interest in studying. Thanks to this sudden conversation, Rintaro was able to confirm that Subaru really is the kind of person Karuko described. Subaru cares deeply and values Karuko a lot, which made Rintaro wonder if he himself could ever reach that level. Just then, two female students had no seats, so he gave up his seat for them. That's when he realized they were the same two girls he had given his seat to at the library. They apologized to Rintaro and thanked him for not saying thanks last time. In response, Rintaro asked about their studies, scaring them into thinking he might eat them alive. Even though Rintaro looks intimidating, the two admitted he's actually kind-hearted. After helping them, Rintaro drifted back into thoughts about Karuko. He could picture how amazing Karuko was when she defended Subaru, but he didn't regret turning down Subaru's request so bluntly. Today was the day the teacher returned the midterm tests, and he was very happy that both Rintaro and Sohei passed. Their classmates quickly surrounded them for interviews. Saku and Rintaro were really happy not to have failed the midterms. Teacher Suko was deeply moved seeing how hard both had worked, but their friends insisted that Rintaro must be the one who worked the hardest. The day the teacher returned the midterm test results, and the teacher was very happy because both Rintaro and Sohei passed. Their classmates quickly surrounded them for interviews. Rintaro and Rintaro looked very happy not to have failed the midterm. Teacher Zuko was very moved to see how much effort they had put in, but their friends insisted the one who worked hardest had to be Saku, so they started crowding around him instead. This was the first time in his life Rintaro felt this happy. After passing a test, you were about to pull out your phone to tell Karuko, but thinking back to what Subaru said earlier made you hesitate. Well, you also know how bad things could get. If the teachers found out Karuko, you're getting used to being a student at Chidori. Meanwhile, the key group was cornering Saku in the classroom, accidentally knocking over Vintaro's desk, spilling his books everywhere. Saku accidentally saw a note wishing Rintaro good luck on the exam from Karuko inside Vintaro's notebook. Even Rintaro just found out it existed. Time seemed to freeze in the room after Saku froze when Saku discovered Karuko's reminder note inside their friend's notebook. Rintaro quickly snatched the workbook. Right after the name Karuko was called out, Saku immediately realized she was the girl they all had met at the city library. Back then, Rintaro told everyone he just happened to run into Karuko at the library. Sorry, but Saku wondered if he was hiding something else. Earlier, Saku noticed Rintaro protecting the students near Kikyo, which didn't quite seem like him. So after all that happened, Saku wanted an explanation from Rintaro, but he had nothing to say to the group, and again, the words sorry were repeated. Luckily, the homeroom teacher showed up just in time to break the tense atmosphere between Saku and Rintaro. The teacher ordered all four to quickly clean up the mess. They had just made a mess quickly, but Saku refused to clean up, and Rintaro only apologized to Iorita. After leaving, Rintaro blamed himself for not double-checking the note inside the notebook, and also forgetting to apologize to Saku. He had sent a thank you message to Karuko for helping him pass the test, which made her really happy. She replied with lots of messages, but Rintaro silently read them without responding because he feared Subaru's words might come true, affecting Karuko. But at that moment, she was just looking forward to seeing which event Rintaro would join at the sports meet. Until the next day, Rintaro and Saku still showed no signs of making up, which worried Sohei a lot. Iorita thought this was Sohei's chance, since wasn't Rintaro the one who helped the two friends reconcile. So, after class, Sohei invited the two to train, but both declined. The kid just wanted to give up already. After school, Sohei and Iorita decided to corner Saku to see if he had anything else to say. Vintaro's actions yesterday made Saku a bit annoyed. It's not that Saku was angry about Rintaro having a connection with Kikyo, but Kikyo doesn't trust his brothers. The two didn't think things were that complicated, but suddenly realized Saku was genuinely upset. He revealed that he could fit in at this school, all thanks to Rintaro, so if he ever faced difficulties, Saku wanted to be Vintaro's source of strength. But Sohei felt Rintaro was the type who always did things that made people. I have to admit, I'm impressed, but only a few of us really know how badass he is. And more importantly, when he said he had nothing to say to everyone, he looked really hesitant. So maybe that was the first time Rintaro let us see his true feelings. That made Iorita feel he was genuinely happy, unlike Rintaro, who hides things from the brothers. But we shouldn't jump to conclusions. There's probably more to it. You believe that one day out of nowhere, Rintaro will show up and reveal that he'll come back and spill everything to his brothers. And to cheer Saku up, the two decide to invite her out for some tasty food. Meanwhile, Vintaro's mom easily notices her son is visibly upset. She guesses it's because he got bad grades, but Rintaro says no. Still, she doesn't really buy it. So Rintaro admits he scored 59 this time, which shocks his mom like a fish out of water. Just then, Karuko randomly shows up at the shop, making Rintaro instinctively dodge her. It's late, so the shop doesn't have many cakes left, but Karuko still wants to treat herself. After all the hard studying, preparing for the midterm exam. Speaking of which, Vintaro's mom tries to brag about how he passed the midterms, but her son cuts her off from below. This annoys Vintaro's mom, so she quickly pulls him upstairs, surprising Karuko, who had no idea he was hiding there. Actually, Vintaro's mom already figured out her son was preoccupied with something involving Karuko, so she gave him space and went to the kitchen. After she left, Rintaro still had nothing to say to Karuko, so she took the initiative to order making him shake like he had bad reception. Karuko suddenly wants them to high-five. to celebrate Vintaro passing the exam, joining the sports meet with friends, and a high five for not looking clueless like a lost calf. Karuko's words make Vintaro suddenly remember the morning's conversation with Saku, but he still gently high-fives her to celebrate, and Karuko senses that Vintaro isn't really feeling all that happy. A little later, Karuko's cake is ready, so she wants to go home and eat it right away. She even tells Vintaro that whenever he feels down, he should eat a lot just like she does, to chase the sadness away. And since they kept talking about food, Karuko completely forgot what she actually wanted to say to Vintaro, making him laugh a lot. Meanwhile, she thought she'd just said something silly. These simple, adorably ordinary moments are what truly connect their hearts. After Karuko leaves, Vintaro's mom checks on her son and finds him standing still like he just ran into a love-struck wall. His heart long darkened, once again ignited by Karuko. When Subaru's plea reached him, deep down Vintaro thought maybe he stopped feeling sad. And since they kept talking about food, Karuko completely forgot what she needed to say to Vintaro, which made him laugh a lot. When they were kids, he thought he said something silly. Those simple, adorable moments, like these, are what connected their souls. After Karuko left, Vintaro's mom came out to check on her son and saw him standing still like he'd just run into a love-shattered heart. The darkened heart of Vintaro, once again rekindled by Karuko. Hearing Subaru's plea, Vintaro thought maybe that would be okay, but he answered Subaru that he couldn't do it. Karuko really is a kind girl, hardworking and worthy of respect, but Vintaro, a feeling that just those simple words weren't enough to express how amazing Karuko really is. Then Vintaro reread the last messages Karuko sent him, which made him have so many questions running through his head about the part of Karuko that never expected to see Vintaro. So suddenly, though he did kind of hope for it, Karuko felt really happy because this was the first time she made Vintaro smile so brightly, and she thought his smile looked really cute. But then, thinking about how he hadn't replied to her message yesterday, Karuko felt a little sad inside. She thought she should have asked what was going on with Vintaro. At that moment, Karuko felt a bit down. She really should have asked what was going on with Vintaro. She should have asked what was going on with Vintaro. That's what Vintaro should do. Just then, Karuko got a message from Subaru. Meet me at the park. Vintaro's dinner tonight looked a bit fancier than usual to celebrate him passing his exam earlier. His mom was a bit surprised, but she also noticed he's been really diligent lately, studying hard, though when he lied about getting a perfect score, he got flicked right in the forehead. Even though Vintaro just barely avoided failing, his mom was really happy because her son had given up a lot before, but this time he didn't quit and finally reaped some rewards, even if she didn't know what motivated him. She also asked if Vintaro had properly apologized to Karuko yet, because he had punched himself before. But she also wasn't too worried since Vintaro isn't the kind of guy who stubbornly refuses to apologize. She believed Vintaro would be able to handle important matters, so she didn't interfere. As long as Vintaro and Subaru stayed happy, that's enough for her. Meanwhile, Subaru was sitting alone in the park reminiscing about the times they had together as kids. It had been a long time since they'd come here together, which made Karuko feel very nostalgic. It had been ages since they last came back to this spot, and back then, Karuko used to come here with Subaru and had a great time. Subaru rarely called Karuko out to a place like this just to talk, so it must be something important. Since they couldn't talk in class, Subaru clearly called Karuko here to talk about Vintaro because previously she'd had a private talk with Vintaro, and for that reason, both of them couldn't talk about just any student from Kikyo School. Back in episode 6, Subaru was actually a crying little kid who would burst into tears when she saw Karuko cosplay. The baby looked really fragile when asleep. Back then, Karuko thanked Subaru for caring about her, but that cosplay was still a lot of fun. To Subaru, Karuko has always been someone who's cheerful and strong, and most importantly, Karuko has always been her hero. Returning to the present, Subaru revealed that a few days ago, she accidentally saw both of them at a cafe. Then she met Vintaro and asked him not to see Karuko anymore, so Subaru apologized to Karuko for betraying her childhood friend. But Karuko's reaction, no more meeting Karuko, so Subaru apologized to Karuko for betraying his childhood friend. But Karuko's reaction surprised Subaru even more. As for Karuko, she understood the extremely tense relationship between Chidori and Kyo. so she completely understood that Subaru acted that way because of her. Therefore, Karuko also sent her regards. I want to apologize to Subaru for making you worry. I tried my best. Subaru felt utterly worthless because after talking with Rintaro, Subaru feared Rintaro would tell Karuko. But surprisingly, nothing happened. This made Subaru briefly think that if Rintaro hadn't told Karuko about it, she wouldn't hate him and everything would remain the same. However, Subaru also couldn't just live each day calmly like that because she was crushed by her own guilt to the point she could barely breathe. And when she realized how terrible she was, Subaru decided to text Karuko to explain everything. But what Subaru couldn't forgive herself for was that Karuko not only didn't blame her, but actually took the fault on herself. She accepted the blame. She had grown taller, stronger, even copying Karuko by growing her hair long hair just like her hero. But then Subaru realized she was just a coward who only hid, was just behind Karuko. That's also why Subaru now feels so much hatred toward himself. Breaking free from those feelings, Subaru kept apologizing to Karuko for only causing trouble. Seeing Subaru keep apologizing with tears, Karuko decided to clear her friend's mind once again by recalling some old stories. As soon as she finished speaking, Karuko climbed up the monkey bars with a look of pure joy. Like when they were kids, Karuko invited Subaru to play together, but Subaru had never dared to climb up before. Subaru wasn't afraid the game would ruin Karuko's awesome, brand new outfit, but helping her friend relax was worth it. When they were little, every time Subaru and Karuko played roughly their clothes, got really dirty, making Karuko's mom quite mad. Although Karuko mastered 7 moves on the monkey bars, she once carelessly fell to the ground, and Karuko still remembers that fall. It hurt like hell. Karuko brought this up to Subaru because after that painful fall, Subaru burst into tears out of worry for Karuko even wanting to take the pain away from her. Subaru doesn't remember saying that, but Karuko is sure she did, thanks to Subaru's care. Karuko was so surprised she stopped feeling pain altogether, and since then, Subaru shocked Karuko so much she stopped hurting. And since then, between Karuko and Subaru has always been a kind person like that. But right now, Subaru still thinks he's not as kind as that, and is just someone who always messes things up. And seeing Subaru always doubting himself, Karuko pouted in frustration. From earlier until now, Subaru kept saying she was so bad-tempered, and that's it, which annoyed Karuko a lot. But she was also grateful to Subaru for always being there all this time. Subaru should have been the one to complain. Karuko fell off the bar when she was little, not just sitting there, crying like she did then. But because of that, Karuko realized that Subaru was crying because she truly cared about Karuko. And on Karuko's side, she also felt terrible for making her friend cry. She's really lucky that Subaru has always been by her side, walking alongside her through everything, because Subaru is always there, Karuko, feeling not lonely, so she hopes you'll never hurt yourself again, which made Subaru deeply moved. Karuko always wanted to die, but trusted those around her, so she put her faith in Subaru until the day she no longer has negative thoughts about herself. And from now until that day comes, Karuko will always tell Subaru, "I love you so much." That made Subaru remember that since the first time they met, Karuko has always said those words to her, which helped Subaru know exactly what she needed to do now. Right after saying this, Subaru suddenly hugged Karuko, surprising her a bit with the gesture. Subaru revealed that she had told Rintaro earlier that Karuko was her student, since Karuko had a scholarship at Kikyo. Because she has a scholarship at Kikyo, she didn't want him to meet that friend again. Looking back, Subaru felt he should have asked Karuko first, but right now, it's only possible to ask Karuko. And Karuko's answer was no, because she still wants to see Rintaro a lot. Then Karuko also apologized to Subaru. At that moment, memories of Rintaro suddenly flooded her mind, saying that Karuko admitted she didn't just like him, but actually loved him deeply. So Subaru revealed to Karuko Rintaro's response. When Subaru told him not to see Karuko anymore, that he said exactly the same thing Karuko just said. It will take some time before Subaru can say she likes herself. She always thought, can say she likes herself. She always thought she was a hateful person, but Karuko was there and said she loves Subaru very much. Even though she doesn't know what the future holds, Subaru will always be by Karuko's side and support her on the journey ahead. And until the day Subaru can say she loves herself, only then will she be able to walk tall alongside Karuko. The two talked late into the night, but thanks to that, Karuko could see Subaru crying like she did when she was little. Just then, Karuko suddenly received a message from Rintaro saying he really wanted to talk to her. Since the day she spoke with Subaru, Rintaro felt he needed to talk with her once more, but he didn't have Subaru's contact info standing outside. The GA house was a bit awkward, so he had to ask Karuko for help. But Karuko didn't know how to start the conversation after not messaging her for a while. Meanwhile, Rintaro was still talking to the air when Karuko suddenly called him, even though she wasn't ready. Clearly, this is the moment he has to face the truth. After they connected, Rintaro apologized for not texting and being at the door. The guy earlier didn't even apologize, but Rintaro didn't care about that at all. Actually, he did think about it a bit. Then Rintaro gathered all his courage to say he wanted to talk with Subaru, which made her giggle because Subaru was right there beside him. After that, the two of them talked and planned to meet up after class the next afternoon. But when they met, instead of greeting each other, they ended up apologizing to one another. The reason was that Rintaro asked Subaru if there was any other way to meet Karuko. At the cafe, Rintaro fully understood what Subaru said and why she said it, but he still wanted to take the risk to meet Karuko even if it might cause trouble for her. So Rintaro asked Subaru if there was any way to meet Karuko without anything bad happening or not. Back then, Subaru used harsh words to speak to Rintaro, yet he never got mad at her. Those words did upset Rintaro a bit though, but Subaru's care for Karuko earned his deep respect, and this made Rintaro realize Subaru was truly a kind girl, so he needed to ask Subaru if there was a way that she would be okay with, because he couldn't meet Karuko while ignoring someone she cares about. The words Rintaro spoke made Subaru feel that the guy Karuko likes really is kind, and Subaru didn't think she could stop such a good person from getting close to Karuko. That said, Subaru revealed she had already told Karuko about their conversation, which surprised Rintaro a lot, and Subaru wanted them to meet somewhere far from school. Extremely surprised, and Subaru wanted them to meet somewhere far from school. If Rintaro could guarantee that, then Subaru would accept it. Just then, a ball suddenly hit Rintaro, and the other person was the kid they had helped at the cafe. The kid inside the cafe, it also noticed the two and felt the two seniors must be really good friends, since they were always together, making the other two a bit jealous. After the kid left, Subaru felt they still had a long way to go before they could truly call each other friends, but Subaru wondered if one day that kid might come back and maybe become friends with Rintaro. This surprised Rintaro a bit, since he didn't believe that day would ever come because of how they are. Attend two schools that are always rivals. But after talking with Karuko yesterday, that boundary no longer mattered to Subaru, since the day Rintaro accidentally showed Karuko's note to Sako. The group chat hasn't been active for a while. Yeah, it's been quiet for some time. Just then, he got a message from Karuko asking about the meeting with Subaru and if everything was okay. This made Karuko really happy because from now on, Rintaro could also be friends with Subaru. As for Rintaro, he also didn't want their group's situation to stay like this, so he decided to arrange a meeting with Karuko and Subaru to clear things up. Right now, Rintaro seems like someone who just fell out of the sky, making Sohei feel really strange. Because of that, Sohei told the other two about it. He was sure that Rintaro might be a bad student, but there's no way. He's bad at sports, and the way Rintaro played so badly today proved he wasn't focused on the game. Basically, in Sohei's eyes, that wasn't the Rintaro he knew. Even in class, Sohei noticed Rintaro looked really restless, but when Sohei looked down to ask his friend if something was wrong, he saw Vintaro's face full of that unmistakable imported vibe. After careful analysis, nothing unusual, just saw Vintaro's distinctly intense expression. After careful analysis, that famous buddy, Sohei concluded that something was definitely going to happen to Rintaro today. Then, they all planned to follow Rintaro all the way to the park. There, the three of them accidentally discovered that Rintaro was secretly meeting two girls from Kikyo School, and when they found out, the three even followed Rintaro into the restaurant, where he was meeting Karuko and Subaru. Thinking about meeting Karuko In Subaru, after school all day, Rintaro was really nervous, but somehow he felt Karuko was even more nervous than him. Rintaro apologized for bothering the two girls, but meeting him made Karuko so happy, she accidentally blurted out her feelings. This left Rintaro totally confused. Meanwhile, Subaru clearly understood how nervous her friend was. At the next table, Sohei was glaring with jealousy, seeing Rintaro ditch the guys to hang out with two girls. While Saku and the others told their friend to shut up, Yorita calmly ordered food. Among the two girls, Saku recognized one as Karuko, a classmate of hers. But the others seemed to really dislike Chidori's students, yet still agreed to meet Rintaro, which puzzled him. After calming down, Rintaro asked Subaru and Karuko for permission to share with his friends at the other table who had been eavesdropping on both of them. Rintaro didn't want to hide that he knew the two girls from Kikyo School, especially from his close friend's perspective, because with that scary face. Before high school, Rintaro had no friends, but since entering, these guys have always been by his side. At first, Rintaro found this kind of strange, but then one day he realized no one could replace them. Rintaro really admires Karuko and Subaru because they always care for and trust each other, and he wishes he could be like that with them. Thanks to Karuko during the midterm exams, for the first time, Rintaro didn't want to give up on anything, and when his efforts were rewarded, he felt glad he didn't quit. That's why Rintaro never gives up, but he also doesn't want to leave behind. They always care about and trust each other, and he wishes he could be like that with them. During the midterm exams, thanks to Karuko for the first time, Rintaro didn't want to give up on anything, and when his efforts were finally rewarded, he was glad he didn't quit. That's also why Rintaro wouldn't give up. But Rintaro didn't want to abandon the friends who had always been by his side. Since the very beginning, Rintaro fully understood. His request was selfish, but once again he begs both of them to let him do this. And Karuko agreed very quickly, which caught Rintaro a bit off guard. As for Subaru, she agreed with Karuko, since neither of them were really worried about anything. If Rintaro truly cared about his friends as much as he said, then Karuko would also trust those kind-hearted people. And that means from now on, Karuko and Subaru could become friends with them too. Rintaro's heartfelt words hit like a blow, making the three eavesdroppers think deeply after hearing them. On the way home, Subaru hopes next time he can meet Rintaro's friends because he wants to apologize for what he said at the library. Just then, three thugs suddenly showed up looking for Rintaro, leaving him clueless about the trouble he's in. Pissed them off. But then he realized two kids he scared off in episode 1. The two brats he'd scared in episode 1 were hiding behind a tree. Since that incident was a while ago, Rintaro planned to make a quick escape. But unfortunately, the thugs had already set a trap to surround him beforehand. Those guys. Rintaro immediately smelled bullshit, but Karuko firmly vouched for him, saying he wasn't that kind of person. Karuko's words impressed Rintaro's bosses, and they got the urge to bully the two girls from Chidori High. Seeing this, Rintaro demanded they let them leave since he was the only one who started trouble, and once the two of them got out safely, he would listen to whatever they had to say, but the thugs refused his request. They planned to drag both girls along after beating him up. Luckily, Sohei showed up just in time to protect Subaru. Saku and Yorita were there too. Saku wanted Rintaro to take the two girls somewhere safe while the thugs could handle the rest, even though he didn't know why. They were here, Rintaro decided to trust his close friends. He also promised everyone he'd explain the whole story. Saku wanted Rintaro to take the two girls somewhere safe and leave these thugs here to them. Although he didn't understand why they showed up here, Rintaro decided he would. But the truth was, Rintaro accidentally hit the wall. Their words made Saku really worried, though it was more about their pitiful bodies. After Rintaro left, Saku go straight to the two guys hiding behind the tree and unleash a torrent of insults. Grab the branch and let loose a barrage of insults, which made those guys no joke either. They bragged that the wound on Rintaro's forehead was caused by them. But the truth was, Rintaro had bumped into a wall. The words from these two kids made Saku very worried, but it was worry for their battered bodies, because Yorita was truly furious when he found out about Rintaro's injury. Meanwhile, Rintaro is sending many apologies to Karuko and Subaru because he caused them trouble again. But at that moment, Yorita suddenly calls Rintaro to check on the two girls, since the situation here has already been settled. Indeed, Yorita talked to them but it was a conversation with fists that left them flat on their backs. Yurita is originally someone who follows, but when it comes to harming his friends, that's a different story. For you, that's a whole different story. Before, leaving Yurita reminded the kids that Rintaro isn't as bad as you think. He is a truly amazing man, and if they ever forget that Yurita will help them, remember it again, just like this time. Today is the day of the sports festival at Chidori School. At Chidori, but Rintaro can't focus on the game. He can't fight, because he hasn't had the chance to explain everything to his friends, all of whom have passed their tests and joined the festival. But he doesn't feel happy at all. Right when the group comes over to talk to Rintaro, he finally gets the chance to thank them for what happened yesterday. When he finds out everyone got home safely, Sohei feels keeping an eye on Rintaro was a smart move. So smart it bored the other two. Then he made an excuse to pull Yurita away so Saku could stay behind to make peace with Rintaro. Here, Saku apologized to Rintaro for following him around all day yesterday. Also, I want to apologize to Rintaro for what happened last time. Back then, Saku didn't understand what Rintaro had been through, yet he said terrible things to him. Still, Rintaro took the blame himself, but Saku believes Rintaro is not at fault at all. Saku feels he should have been honest with Rintaro from the start, just like Karuko said at the diner. Actually, Saku was really glad to hear what Rintaro said at the diner yesterday. However, even though Saku's blunt nature shows he hopes, Rintaro truly believes he trusts his friends from the bottom of his heart. So, if you ever have trouble, count on us. Those words deeply moved Rintaro. Thanks to his friend's support, Rintaro's spirit seemed to lift. So entering the second half of the baseball game, Rintaro made a game-changing hit that earned the whole class's admiration. And at the moment, Rintaro celebrating with his close friends, knowing they captured. That photo made teacher Shuka exclaim, "Oh, youth." Because those are the memories of youth.